The bolt cutters made a dull clink every time Rowan stepped. She tried to muffle the sound by wrapping them in her hoodie, but the night was too quiet. The woods behind the old tracks had gone dead silent. Not even the crickets dared whistle. Ashford Hollow's old FM station sat crooked at the edge of a brush-choked lot, its slanted antenna still standing like a snapped bone. Ivy had swallowed half the brick building, curling over the station's sign like the land was trying to forget the name. WKDU 98.3, the voice of the Hollow. Only the W remained untouched by soot. The rest had gone black decades ago. Rowan clicked off her flashlight when she got close. She didn't want Bev, or worse, Curtis, spotting her from the porch. Not that either of them ever looked past 9 o'clock. She was supposed to be in bed, supposed to be studying for geometry. Instead, she was about to break into a building most people in Ashford Hollow wouldn't even look at, much less touch. The dare had come from Travis Miller at school, with his crooked smirk and that dumb orange hat he always wore backward. "Bet you can't even make it inside," he'd said at lunch, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Bet you pee yourself when the devil whispers." Rowan had shrugged. "That's cute. I didn't know your religion was VHS horror movies." Now she stood at the service door behind the building, her flashlight gripped between her teeth. The padlock was ancient, rusted through, like it had already given up. The bolt cutters bit through with a dull snap. She paused. The door creaked open on its own, just a little, like it was inviting her in. The inside smelled like mildew, ash, and something chemical. Not rotten, just wrong. She swept the flashlight across a narrow hallway, the walls streaked with black. Graffiti near the floor, a circle with a jagged line through it. Spray paint, maybe. Maybe not. There were no windows, just dusty panels and old wires hanging like dead vines from the ceiling. She passed what looked like an old break room, chairs overturned, a table warped from heat. Coffee mugs still sat on the counter. One of them had lipstick on the rim. But she kept moving. She wasn't here for mugs. At the end of the hall, a door marked Studio A waited behind a smear of soot. The handle was blackened, melted slightly. She grabbed it with her sleeve and turned. The room beyond was half-charred, the walls blistered from heat long since past. The broadcast board was somehow intact, dusted over, but untouched by flame. The big mic arm stood like a spider leg over the console. Something about the silence made Rowan hold her breath. She stepped in, boots crunching over broken glass and something squishy. She didn't look down. Her fingers brushed the main switch. It was cold, then warm, then everything hummed. Lights stuttered in the hallway. A low mechanical groan rolled through the walls like something waking up. She froze. The switch had moved. She hadn't pulled it. Rowan yanked her hand back like she'd touched a hot stove, but the switch was already locked in place, jammed into the on position. The lights above flickered like angry fireflies, chasing each other through dust-choked fixtures. Somewhere behind the walls, a generator coughed to life and held. Then the speakers popped. Loud. Rowan flinched. Her flashlight clattered to the floor and rolled, beams spinning like a lighthouse. A wall of static poured out of the room's overhead monitors. Not white noise. This was thicker, like wind caught in a throat. It layered in pulses. Sharp. Then distant. Then whispering. A low male voice bled through the static, dragging like a warped cassette. "Come in. This is station KKKT. Ashford Hollow." The speaker warbled. Static again. Then, clearer, a female voice. "Hi, maybe teenage. I'm still here. I'm still, can you hear me? Still." Rowan stared at the mic arm. Its tiny red light flicked on. No one was in the chair. She turned toward the hallway, ready to bolt, but the hallway light shut off. All at once. The glow vanished like it had been swallowed. Something in the wall behind her clicked, deep and wet, like a throat clearing. A new sound slithered from the speakers. Music. Something old. Twangy. A country song Rowan didn't recognize. Scratchy like it was playing off vinyl that had been dragged through sand. Musical note. Last call at the cedar tree. She left her name in the ash for me. Musical note. Her voice. Rowan froze. The singing was her voice. Not exactly, but close enough it made her skin crawl. The guitar twanged flat. The drums skipped, then looped. She reached for the board, fumbling for the OFF switch. Then, a voice. Not male or female. Not a recording. Rowan Parr. It came through the speakers like a breath from the wall. She stopped cold. Nope. The room seemed smaller suddenly. Hotter. The soot on the walls looked fresh, like it might smear if she touched it. Don't go. The voice was lower now. Not demanding, just sad. You're already here. Rowan swallowed hard. Cool. Creepy land radio. That's enough of this. She yanked the mic cord loose. The static kept going. You saw the boy. It sounded like a whisper, but the glass on the console vibrated with it. The one with eyes like mirrors. He waits. He remembers. Who are you? Rowan said, more to steady her breathing than to get an answer. The lights dimmed. The speakers buzzed. Then a new voice, her mother's voice, croaked through the system. Come home, baby. That broke it. Rowan spun, kicked open the studio door, and bolted into the hallway, lightless, buzzing, full of old air. Behind her, the speakers whispered. You're the voice now. Rowan's boots slapped the floor as she ran, flashlight beam jittering over scorched linoleum and falling insulation. The walls still whispered, like voices caught in the sheetrock, murmuring through decades of decay. She hit the lobby door with her shoulder. It didn't budge. She tugged at the handle, twisted, kicked it. Nothing. The bolt hadn't just relocked. It was sealed. She could feel the tension in the frame, like the building itself was holding its breath. Okay, she muttered. Okay, that's new. Behind her, the broadcast static flared. She heard her own name again, this time not whispered, but shouted, like someone calling from across a canyon. Rowan. She turned. Slowly. The hallway pulsed with red emergency light. The shadows on the walls didn't match the objects casting them. One shadow moved when she didn't. She steadied her breath and said aloud, What do you want? No reply, just the creak of metal shifting in the walls, and a faint hiss, like distant steam. Rowan took a step toward the broadcast room, but her flashlight flickered. When it steadied, the graffiti on the wall she'd passed earlier had changed. It now read, The girl is already in the attic. The letters were jagged, fresh. Her heart kicked against her ribs. That's not cool. You're not funny. The speakers behind her clicked. A new voice, slower, deeper. Beware the one who smiles with no eyes. Rowan barked a laugh. Too loud, too sharp. Yeah, add that to the tourism brochure. Right under, Don't touch the attic. She turned to leave again, but her flashlight beam caught on something under the broadcast desk, barely visible beneath a curtain of wiring. She crouched. There, burned into the metal paneling just below the desk, was a symbol. A circle, broken at the top, a jagged line carved straight through it like a fault in stone. The same one from the hallway. She reached out and ran her finger along the groove. The metal pulsed, faintly, like static shock. She recoiled, then pulled out her phone to snap a photo. She paused. There were already photos open on her screen. 10 of them, all taken in the last 10 minutes. Each was blurry, but they were of her, from behind, entering the building, standing in the booth, kneeling under the desk. And the last one, it showed her bent over the symbol. But her reflection in the dark glass of the booth window was smiling. Her face wasn't. Rowan backed away from the desk, slow and careful like the air had teeth. The static rose again, angrier now, or just closer. Something inside her bones buzzed, and she knew, in that raw animal part of her brain, that staying another minute might change her forever. She bolted. She took the narrow side hall, shouldered through a warped exit door, and didn't stop moving until the station was just a silhouette behind her. The night air hit like cold water, and she gulped it, knees buckling on the loose gravel. Lights above the old telephone poles crackled and flickered as she passed beneath them. The lines hummed louder than usual. One sparked blue as she jogged under it. She didn't go home. Instead, she cut across the scrub field, past the half-dead cattle fence, and followed the overgrown trail that led into the woods, down past the cypress grove, over the shallow wash, and toward a faint orange glow deeper in the trees. Isaac Nitahe's place wasn't easy to find. You didn't come here by accident. By the time she reached the clearing, her heart had calmed just enough to be furious. Isaac sat cross-legged on a flat stone, working a thin piece of wood with his pocket knife. The fire beside him burned low, like it had been waiting a long time without bothering to go out. Rowan stomped forward. What the hell was that? Isaac didn't look up. Hello, Rowan, he said. Don't do that mystic greeting crap. The station turned on its own, and it talked. To me. Still carving. She paced in a circle, words spilling out. It knew my name, it knew my voice, used my voice, and then it said things like, beware the smiling no eyes and the girl's already in the attic, and it locked the doors, and my phone has photos that I didn't take and... He raised a hand. She stopped. Isaac stood slowly, the carved piece of wood still in hand, something like a bird, maybe, or a leaf. He set it gently on the edge of the fire. That wasn't the devil, child, he said softly. His voice was old moss and slow water. Rowan blinked. I didn't say it was the devil. He looked at her, his eyes catching firelight. But that's what the town calls it, isn't it? The voice. The static. The thing under the ash. She didn't answer. He stepped forward, close now, and tapped her lightly between the eyes. But something just as old and of the land. And now it's looking through you, child. Rowan's skin went cold. Why me? She whispered. Isaac turned toward the fire. Maybe because you asked. Maybe because you listened. Rowan opened her mouth, then stopped. The carved figure on the fire, whatever it was, hadn't burned. It sat in the flames, untouched. Something's coming, Isaac said, voice gone low. Rowan looked up. The voice said a girl's already in the attic. That I saw the boy. Isaac didn't move. Then you're already part of it. Rowan left the fire behind in silence. Isaac didn't say goodbye. He never did. She took the path back by instinct, boots crunching softly over frost-kissed pine needles. The night had changed. It felt heavier, like the sky had lowered itself by a few feet. Her hands trembled when she reached the porch. Not from fear. Not exactly. From pressure. Like something was building, and she wasn't supposed to run from it this time. She crept inside the house without waking Bev or Curtis. They were deep sleepers, or maybe just very good at pretending they didn't hear things. Upstairs, her room was still warm from the little space heater she'd left running. She peeled off her coat, dropped a flashlight on the bed, and paused at the small wooden radio on her nightstand. It had belonged to her mom. It hadn't worked in years. But now, CRKKK, HCZZZZZ, SICHKKK. It was on. She stared. The dial hadn't moved, but the static came in thick and purposeful, almost like breathing. Rowan stepped closer. No, she whispered. We're done. You said your creepy ghost lines. That's it. The static broke. A voice came through. Soft. Familiar. Come. The guest is coming. Rowan froze. The voice wasn't her mother's this time. It wasn't the old croak, or the warped music. It was her own voice again, but not speaking, reading. Her name is Marla. She forgets herself. She will not leave. Rowan's throat went dry. The air in the room smelled faintly like ozone, like something burning far away. She turned slowly toward the window. The view from her room looked out over the gravel driveway and the hill beyond where the AirBnB sat. A big, proud Victorian painted pale blue, with its tall porch and lace curtains glowing faintly in the moonlight. Someone was standing outside the gate. A woman. Shoulder-length hair. Heavy coat. Next to her, a tiny dog sniffed the ground. It sneezed. Rowan reached for her phone, clicked the calendar. The next reservation wasn't until next week. Still, the woman at the gate raised her hand, gently, and waved at the house. Not at Bev or Curtis. At Rowan's window. Rowan whispered, "You're early." The radio crackled one last time. "She's been here before."